Okay, right here, I believe, is one of the handgun models that forged Glock's reputation and reliability. This is the Glock 22 Generation 2. This, along with the Generation 2 Model 17 and the Gen 2 Model 19, I think those are largely responsible for giving Glock its excellent reputation for just being an excellent, durable handgun. And of course, that reputation just grew when the Gen 3 models came out. But this particular model, the Glock 22, is still in use by law enforcement and many different security agencies to this very day. This particular one is a police trade-in, and by doing a serial number research, this was made around July 1995. They started making these in 1990, I believe, is when the very first Gen 2 Glock came out. So these are not new handguns, they're pretty old designs, and they actually are pretty common on the market. This particular one has a decent set of Mepro-Lite True Dot sights. Decent night sights. They're not the brightest, but they're pretty good sights. I do like them. The one thing about these handguns is they go fast. When you see them on a shelf, you see them for $400, $350, $380, whatever. Sometimes you can get a really good deal and get them for under $300 if you get one that's maybe just a little bit more worn. And they go fast because a Glock is a Glock. I'm certainly not a Glock fanboy. There's a lot of handguns out there that'll run right along with a Glock, but you can't deny that Glocks are a good handgun. Now, when you think of the United States military, one firearm comes to mind: the M16/AR-15 rifle. When you think of law enforcement, what's the one handgun that comes to mind? The Glock Model 22. They still carry these in the local police department that in my town here, and I've seen them throughout Montana through travels. It's pretty easy to spot one of these. If you're out and about, you see a security guard officer, a police officer, it's pretty easy to tell. When you see a Glock in a holster, it doesn't have any finger grooves, it has a smooth side like that right here, but it still has the checkering. Most likely it's a Glock 22. Could be a Glock 17. Or something like that. For the most part, if you see an officer, security officer, law enforcement officer carrying it, it's a Glock 22. And the reason it has reached that popularity amongst law enforcement circles is it's because it's reliable. It works, and it works. Of course, it isn't perfect. There's been issues before. Just like any other man-made object, there's always going to be issues. It is what it is. But the track record is excellent, and that's why I got it. Not only was it a good deal, I decided that I wanted a handgun that I could use as an all-around gun. I want a gun that I can use as concealed carry, home defense, out in the woods, utilitarian type uses. I wanted a kind of a broad spectrum. So I thought about it for a while, and I think the Glock 22 Generation 2 fits that well. Some might argue, well, hey, what about the Gen 3? That way you could put a light on it. Well, I do have a Gen 3 also. A lot of you guys know I also have a Model 22 Gen 3. I've got a nice light on it. That particular one is dated 2006. Even though I got it pretty much new, the serial number is dated 2006. So I don't know how that just managed to seep through the cracks and not really get used, because it still has the factory grease on it. It's still brand new, except for the few rounds that I put through it so far. So I do have a Gen 3. Who knows, later on down the line I might see if I can't get a Glock 22 Gen 4, just so that way I can kind of have the evolution from the Gen 2, Gen 3 to Gen 4. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Glock 22 does not have a Generation 1 model, because they did not have that model available at the time. The Gen 2 series is the first series that came out with the 40, and the Gen 2 Glock 22 was pretty much, I believe, one of the first 40s that were on the market, if not the very first 40 that hit the market. So in any case, I'll do some videos on this here in the future. I'll do a comparison video, just kind of showing this against the Gen 3, so you can kind of see what the differences are between the two, because they look pretty similar, but there are some small differences and there are some larger differences. And if you guys want, I'll go through that, just kind of do a quick video to show you. But there it is. This is the classic law enforcement handgun, a Glock 22 Generation 2.